In June 2021, a terrible crime occurred in a quiet neighborhood within Fukuoka, Japan. Junji Matsumoto, a 59-year-old man, was arrested for the brutal murder of his elderly parents. His father, Hirokazu, was 88, and his mother, Maki, 87. And the most notable detail about this case is the reasoning that Junji provided when asked why he did it. It was because he was interrupted in the middle of watching anime. Or rather, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Before we actually discuss the crime, it's important to go over the family's background, as it will allow us to better understand what was going through Junji's mind. Junji lived with his parents in a modest home in Fukuoka's Nishi ward. The Matsumoto family had long been residents of this area. Hirokazu, once an active man and business owner, had become bedridden following a severe fall from his bicycle. This accident left him with debilitating injuries, significantly reducing his mobility and independence. Maki, on the other hand, had been suffering from chronic health issues that confined her to a wheelchair. As their health deteriorated, both parents became increasingly dependent on Junji for their daily needs. This dependency included assistance with basic activities such as eating, bathing, and using the bathroom. The burden of caregiving fell entirely on Junji, who was unemployed and had no professional caregiving experience. The financial status of the family was also dwindling. Hirokazu and Maki relied heavily on their pensions to cover the household expenses. Junji, without a job and any form of income, depended entirely on his parents' pensions for food and other resources. The lack of financial stability added to the stress within the household, contributing to the overall tension. Furthermore, Junji had struggled socially in his life ever since he was a child. It's even said that he had to cut his education short due to the overwhelming anxiety he got when he went out. Despite being 59 years old, Junji appeared to lack a sense of direction or purpose. Before Junji's parents' health declined, the family ran a small business. It was like a convenience store that sold various items, including snacks, alcohol, and more. It was also part of their home. However, as the decades passed, the area grew more and more in population, leading to larger businesses being built in the vicinity. This is what ultimately forced the family to shut down the business. On the night of June 20th, 2021, Junji's father repeatedly called for help to use the bathroom while he was watching anime on the TV. These bathroom requests were the absolute least favorite of the tasks that Junji needed to assist with. Each call for assistance interrupted Junji's mental escape from his responsibilities. In his confession, Junji described this moment as the breaking point where years of pent-up frustration culminated in a violent outburst. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, Junji grabbed an electrical cord and strangled his father. His father's pleas for help and subsequent complaints about his care had pushed Junji to the edge. The act of violence was not premeditated, but rather a spontaneous response to the immediate stressor of being interrupted during his anime. The situation quickly spiraled down further when Junji's mother witnessed the murder of her husband. Overcome by panic and fear, she ran off. However, she couldn't get far. Junji later stated that he felt compelled to take the life of his mother to spare her the trauma of living alone after witnessing such a gruesome act. He killed her using the same method. After committing the murders, Junji took a step back to absorb the reality of what he had just done. As his adrenaline started to fade, he came to terms that he was now a criminal. He didn't really know what to do next, but what he did know was that he didn't want to go to jail. So he hid both bodies in an industrial refrigerator in the old business the family ran, sealing it shut with tape. Afterward, he started laying out his options. Since the family didn't go out too often, Junji knew he had some extra time to think. He hoped that the large fridge could delay the discovery. Initial examinations revealed no external wounds, which only briefly stalled the identification of the cause of death. The condition of the bodies indicated that they had been in the refrigerator for several days, aligning with the timeline of the reported silence from the family. It didn't take long for investigators to realize that the couple's son was living with them, so understandably they immediately suspected that Junji either played a direct role in their deaths or he was abducted. The police interviewed neighbors and relatives to piece together the events leading up to the discovery. Neighbors reported seeing Junji acting unusual around the time when police suspected that the couple was killed. It was fairly obvious to them that he didn't want to be seen. Relatives informed authorities of how dependent Hirokazu and Maki were on Junji. These interviews painted a picture of a man under immense pressure, struggling to balance his responsibilities with his personal needs. As the investigation progressed, police pieced together a timeline of evidence and events placing Junji as the primary suspect. After the murders, Junji attempted to cover his tracks and evade capture. He fled his home on the night of June 23, 2021, taking only a few essential items with him. His initial escape was by bicycle, which was smart as it didn't draw immediate attention. However, this was just the first step in his broader plan to avoid capture. Junji's journey across Japan was erratic and calculated in order to confuse authorities. He used a combination of bicycles and public transportation, including trains, to move from one location to another. This method of travel was chosen to blend in with regular commuters and avoid creating a consistent travel pattern that could be easily traced. He traveled across multiple prefectures including Yamaguchi, Shizuoka, Akita, and Yamagata. The police employed various surveillance methods to track Junji's movements. Hotel records played a crucial role in mapping out his journey. Each hotel stay left a paper trail and investigators carefully followed it, checking registration logs and security footage. Junji's frequent use of hotels helped police easily track the man. Additionally, the police utilized Japan's extensive network of other surveillance cameras. Train stations, streets, and public areas are equipped with CCTV cameras, which captured Junji's movements and provided information on his whereabouts. The breakthrough came on July 4th, 2021, when the police managed to pinpoint Junji's location to a hotel in Kyoto. They surrounded the premises to prevent any possible escape. After confirming his presence, the police moved in to apprehend him. Junji Matsumoto was arrested without resistance in the parking lot of the hotel. His demeanor during the arrest was reportedly calm, and he did not attempt to flee or deny his identity. This behavior suggested a level of resignation or acceptance of his fate. Following his arrest, Junji was taken into custody for questioning. During the interrogation, he provided a detailed confession, revealing the motive and the sequence of events that led to the murders. He explained that the incessant demands of his parents for care had become unbearable, particularly as they interrupted his anime, which he described as his only solace. His actions following the murders, including hiding the bodies in the refrigerator and sealing it with tape, were described as desperate attempts to delay their discovery and buy himself time to flee. The investigation into Junji's psychological state revealed a complex array of factors that contributed to this outcome. Junji was an unemployed man getting up there in age who had assumed the role of primary caregiver for his parents. This role was thrust upon him without adequate preparation, leading to significant stress and burnout. Junji could hardly take care of himself, so expecting him to be able to take care of his parents was a long shot. Further contributing to his poor mental health was his obsession with anime. While Junji stated that anime was his one way to escape, it also enabled him to ignore his problems. Additionally, in Asian cultures, it's frequently expected that the children will one day take care of their aging parents. As a result, it is sometimes frowned upon for leaving one's parents in a care facility. But it's not like this was even an option for the Matsumoto family, since they couldn't financially justify this move anyway. This is in no way an excuse for his actions, but instead simply an explanation. Following his confession, Junji Matsumoto faced charges of murder and abandoning human remains. The legal proceedings were closely monitored by the media and the public. Junji's defense focused on his mental state and the immense pressure he faced as a caregiver, while the prosecution emphasized the premeditated nature of the murders. The aftermath of Junji's case had far-reaching implications. It brought to light the challenges faced by caregivers in Japan, especially those caring for elderly parents. The Japanese government and social services took note of the case, leading to discussions on improving support systems for caregivers to prevent similar tragedies. There were calls for more accessible mental health resources and community support to alleviate the burden. The case also highlighted the potential dangers of obsessive behavior and the need for balanced lifestyles. Again, while Junji's obsession with anime brought him solace, it also allowed him to disregard his own health and well-being. This aspect of the case sparked debates about the impact of media consumption on mental health and the importance of addressing underlying psychological issues.